What's up, guys? I am here with Pedro Mirabal, and we just wanted to do a quick little reacts video. Last night on Friday night, we saw Civil War, and we thought it was pretty dope. So, Pedro, I want to go straight to you, brother. And what was your favorite part of the movie?
I think for me, honestly, I think it was the first time we saw. By the way, is this spoilers? No
Yeah.
spoilers?
No, this is definitely spoilers. So,
Okay,
if
cool.
you don't want the movie spoiled for you, leave now. So,
Yes, please. All right, so matter of fact, hold on. Let me give him a couple seconds here.
all right, we're good.
All right. The first time we saw Black Panther, I think, was super, super dope. Um, especially and especially since he showed up to go after Bucky, and when it was revealed that it was the you know I guess now king of was it Nigeria? I think. I thought that was really, really dope. As someone who didn't know what to expect from that character, I thought that his first appearance was super cool, and that whole car chase scene that went along with it was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. His character was super dope. The martial arts was on point. I think my favorite part of the movie is just, and it was surprising to me, but when Tony Stark finds, Spider-Man and that whole interaction between the two of them, I felt like the comedy was on point. It was very witty. I thought that they handled it very, very well. What's your opinion on that whole interaction between the two of them?
That was very well done. I thought that I'd like to know why Iron Man has video of you know the Spider-Man uh, kicking ass and shit. Like I don't understand why he's got videos and he's monitoring them. But um, I did think that that interaction was super cool. I'm eager to see more from Homecoming because that what that looks like is going to be that budding relationship of Tony Stark kind of mentoring Spider-Man through or through his journey to becoming, the superhero we know and love. So
Yeah, absolutely. How did you like Peter Parker's character? Like, him being a younger teenager. Like, what do you think of that?
I think him being a younger teenager than some, nerdy dude, older dude is definitely the way to go because you give the character the opportunity to grow, and it, it, when I look at it, and if he does like some lame stuff with girls, I can forgive that because he's like a teenager. I don't know if I could forgive the lame stuff that past Peter Parkers have done with Mary Jane in particular, or the way that other male characters kind of make Peter Parker look um, with the older Peter Parkers in the past. I don't know if I could forgive that from him, from an older person, than from a person that's just a teenager and he's still growing and kind of learning who he is.
Yeah, I agree with that. Next thing I wanted to talk about, and something that really stood out to me, is I felt like the pacing was super on point in this movie. Like, we'd go from this epic fight scene, and then we'd get into some like more campy kind of comedy scenes, like when they're all chilling in the Volkswagen Beetle, and it was just
Yeah.
little subtle comedic points that kind of really stood out to me. And then, when you see Captain America, making out, and they're just kind of like, when he gets back in the car and they just look at him, like, I felt like all that was hilarious. How'd you feel like the pacing held up?
That scene was great. I actually thought that's something that, if you're with your boys are in your car, the girl that you like is over there, and then you go in for the kiss. It's been long awaited. Both of you guys have wanted to do it, but for some reason you just continue to get cock blocked. And then you look back and your boys are like, yeah, I see you. I thought that was great. It was very reminiscent as to what would happen in real life if that were, if that were the case. So I thought that that was very well executed on that point. Like you said, the pacing was perfect. I thought that we went from huge set pieces to kind of moments that kind of filled in the story and um, yeah, actually just moments to kind of backfill the story and then back to action and then back to some more, moments like, vision and wonder in the Avengers home and things like that. I thought that they did a really good job of not making it too boring. The movie is pretty long at 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I think it's the same length as Batman versus Superman. And I can tell you that I did not look at my watch once while I was watching Captain America Civil War. I did look at my watch saying, okay, I'm an hour and a half in Batman versus Superman, so I got another hour left of this. Something better happen soon. Um, so I never caught myself doing that with this Marvel movie. Um, and I really did. I really do like the fact that it was paced very well. So I do agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta agree with you there. I felt like the time at first I was like, oh man, 2.5 hours, but like I remember the only time that I did actually look at my watch, it was like an hour and 45 minutes in, and I only looked because I hoped that it wasn't ending anytime soon because I was enjoying myself so much. So yeah, that's the only time I actually
Yeah.
looked at my watch. Like man, this movie was so good. Next thing that I want to talk about, and I think what people are most interested about is the fight scene. So let's kind of do that on a case by case basis. So let's talk about the first fight scene that we see, and like what was your highlight of the first fight scene? Like right there at the very beginning with Falcon and Captain America.
I thought the fight scene was pretty good. I think that at some points the CGI was kind of, it kind of made you look, and we were like, this looks really, really bad, because you could kind of tell, you know what I mean, that it was computer generated. Um, and at some points, I kind of caught myself thinking, like, damn, or is this going to be the whole movie? But it got better as the movie went along. Um, so for me, that first fight scene was not as impressive as it could have been had I not noticed the just the amount of CGI that was in that scene.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like you said, we kind of talked about it a little bit after seeing the movies, and if there was any negatives to take away from the movie, that is one small one. Like the CGI, there were parts that they could have cleaned it up and made it look a little more realistic. I even cracked a comment saying that it was almost as if Michael Bay made the movie. So that's one thing that I noticed as well. Do you have any other negatives that you would kind of put on the movie? Because one of my negatives were Ant Man. Like I felt like they did such a good job with this standalone movie. I was hoping to see a little bit more of him in the movie. I felt like his scene might have been a little short. You made the comment that you felt like he was just there for comedic support, which that is kind of true. So what's your thoughts on any other negatives that you would have?
I thought Ant-Man actually, they gave him enough time. I don't have I don't have much negative to say regarding the movie because I think that I mean, it was very well executed. There were some scenes where the CGI, kind of stood out as something that you would expect to not see from a movie that's got over $100 million in budget. So.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I thought that it was very well paced. The character, there was enough of each character, and each character showed their different personality. And if you hadn't seen their individual movie before watching Civil War, you want to watch it after. You'd want to watch it afterwards. Like I had not seen Ant-Man, so I didn't know what to expect from him. Um, and now, after watching his performance, I kind of want to go see Ant-Man and the origins and kind of what the suit does. I see this. I know the suit, gets smaller and then comes, you turn into like a King Kong like character as well using that suit. So.
Let's talk about that fight scene because this is where we, really get to see Spider-Man kind of like come into the big screen, and it seemed like a large part of the fight revolved around Spider-Man's character, and like how do you think that whole fight scene played out when they're on the airport, and Ant-Man's going from small to large, and you have Spider-Man webbing everybody. How do you like that fight scene?
That was probably the best fight scene in the movie,
Yeah,
in my
by
opinion.
yeah, by far. Who was your favorite? Who was your standout character in that fight?
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I thought Spider-Man did a great job. Um, you know, his mix of um, kind of, hey guys, I'm only doing this because I gotta impress, I gotta impress Mr. Stark, but I think you guys are cool dudes, and you know, and the fact that he was just super, it's they utilized his abilities really well, which I thought was great. That fight was supremely choreographed, and everybody's superpowers or everything that made every character different was utilized in the perfect way in that scene.
yeah. I felt like particularly in that scene, everybody kind of like, if you're a fanboy for any one of those characters, I felt like everyone kind of definitely came into their own. Like everyone had, their perfect amount of screen time. I thought Hawkeye, like I never really liked Hawkeye in like Age of Ultron, or, and like I just didn't really like his character that much before this movie. I felt like they did a really good job like making Hawkeye relevant. What do you think about that? Did you like his
I
character?
liked Hawkeye in the other two movies, but I thought that he did a good job. Again, his they played to his strengths, and he did a good job of becoming a character that really wasn't featured in the movie, um, a lot. Uh, he wasn't really a main character, but for a secondary side character, I thought they did a good job of giving him his high points.
Yeah. Um, Now the last thing that I really want to highlight on the reacts is, going into this movie, you went into it divided. You either Team Cap or you were Team Iron Man. So first off, who were you? Were you Team Cap or Team Iron Man?
I was Iron Man.
Uh, nice. I was gonna say I'm Team Cap, so this is gonna be a fun conversation right here. So all right, let's talk about it.
Coming in, I'm sorry, that's my dog. Coming in, I was Team Iron Man, but during the movie, I was like, yo, Iron Man, bro, you're being kind of a bitch right now. Stop it. Um, so I was definitely for everything that Captain America kind of stood for, and what his actions were, and while I could understand why Iron Man chose the side that he chose, I also think that, in my opinion, he was just kind of portrayed as the antagonist here, um, in this movie. If you were, Team Cap, so.
Yeah, definitely. I my interests also align with Team Caps. Like the whole not signing thing. Like I totally agree with that. Like um, what do you think about the fight scene at the end with Team Cap and Team Iron Man? How do you think it was handled?
Uh, um, I think it was handled the way it was supposed to have been handled. Um, you know, Captain America. They both didn't want to fight each other. They kind of wanted to just they really I think they were really hoping for those enemies to sorry to um, just be alive and not try have them, you know, fight each other. But when you have Bucky as the guy who is always hated, or is the reason why the Avengers are fighting each other, and Captain America is just defending his boy, and Iron Man's like, bro, he killed my mom, so we're gonna have to duke this out. Um, and if you notice, Iron Man didn't want to use his suit's powers against Captain America until it was like the very last thing he had to do. Then
Yeah,
once he did that, he kind of turned the tables. But then Captain America ended up winning the fight anyway.
yeah, his suit literally tells him you cannot win in a hand-to-hand combat situation. So, like,
Yeah.
yeah, he went to rely on the suit, even telling Captain America, like, basically, this is your final warning. And then Cap
Yep.
gets up and he's like, I'm not going down. So, and that proved
Yeah.
to be the case. Cap ended up taking the win with a little bit of help from Bucky, but nonetheless, he won the fight. I thought that it was handled like perfectly. Like I loved the motivation. Like it actually caught me off guard because I went into this movie completely blind. Like I didn't know how that fight was gonna play out. So I even thought that they were gonna avoid the fight because when Iron Man first arrives, and Cap's being all kind of defensive, like I'm like, oh, okay, well they didn't have the big fight scene that was going to be in there, but then they did have it, and
Yeah.
I thought that it was handled perfectly. Um, any closing statements? Anything else you want to talk about? Related before we go ahead and put our seal of approval or what have you.
I think that again, this is probably right now the best movie for superhero fans to watch. It's leaps and bounds better than the first major superhero movie we saw, which was Batman versus Superman. It's a little long. It's a 2.5 hours. So I mean, if you can't sit still for 2.5 hours, this may not be the movie to watch. But or if you watch movies with someone who can't sit still for 2.5 hours, this may not be the movie to watch. But I definitely, um, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So
All right. So here's my question then. When it comes to verdict, do people need to see this in theaters, or can they just wait for Blu-ray?
ooh, watch it in theaters. I think it's best served watching it in theater and being around fellow nerds and just kind of seeing the reactions of the movie theater. The theater that we were at, man, there were definitely some nerds in there, but it was super quiet. Like they didn't really, they didn't laugh at the funny scene. There weren't too many people watching it, and laughing at the scenes that were legitimately funny. There wasn't any clapping at the end or any
Yeah, no
clapping while they were
clapping.
fighting.
Yeah, I
So
noticed that myself. I'm like, oh my god, there's no clapping at the end.
yeah,
I was shocked at that.
it was super serious, the movie theater that we were in, but for the most part when you go watch a superhero movie, you do get people that are emotionally invested in the characters, and you do get those moments of there's people clapping, cheering, laughing, and that group experience, I think, lends itself to a movie like this. So I say, check it out. Go watch it in a movie theater. You'll you know you'll thoroughly enjoy it if you do.
All right. I also agree with you. My verdict is this can't wait for Blu-ray. You kind of need to go see this one in theater. It is the definitive like superhero movie of the last 5 years. I think the only movie that I've seen recently superhero related that would kind of rival it, so to speak, would be Ant-Man. Like that game caught me off guard. I didn't have any expectations for that movie, but I felt that it was great. The pacing was probably better in Ant-Man than it was this movie, but yeah, I definitely my final verdict is see it in theaters. One last thing before we go, who was your standout character in the movie?
Black Panther.
Black Panther, yeah. And for me, the standout character, caught me off guard a little bit was Spider-Man. I think they can do some interesting things with this standalone movie that's coming in the future. So I think they did a good job setting him up. That being said, guys, thanks for watching. We'll be doing more of these in the future. So please keep it locked right here to Extremely Decent Games for all things nerd culture. Have a good one, guys.